What's up guys, Artem MMA Analysis here, going to be talking about Bellator 285 in Dublin, and I'm pretty much looking forward to this card. It's good to see Bellator taking advantage of a UFC off weekend. We don't always see Bellator on when the UFC's not on, so it's good to see that happening. It's something to watch instead of the UFC this weekend. It should be a pretty good card. I mean, I highly doubt that Carl Abrixson versus Carl Moore is going to be the first prelim of the night. I'm expecting a little bit of a card shake-up, but it's a good scrap. I am picking Carl Abrixson to win. He's definitely a guy the UFC probably should have tried to pick up before Bellator ended up did, but he's been in there with Vadim Nenkov. He beat him by split decision. Valentin Moldavsky lost to Jiri Prochazka, obviously your current champion right now in UFC. He's got to win over Theodoros Augustulus. I definitely said his name wrong there, sorry, who's in the PFL. And then he's obviously fought in Bellator, and then there we go, he's off to the races in Bellator right now. He's kind of fighting in Bellator and then not. He's kind of going in and out, so maybe he's not on an exclusive contract. UFC, sign this man. Sign Carl Abrixson. I mean, if he's not on an exclusive contract, I think it's he's a guy you want. But yeah, picking him to win. I think he's going to get done inside the distance as well, and that's kind of what Topology is picking. I just think he's so much better than Carl Moore, who's a great fighter. He really is, but we're talking about Carl Abrixson here, who I rate pretty highly. He's from Sweden as well. The UFC apparently was meant to put on a card in Sweden later this year, and I don't think that's going to happen now, but UFC wants to put on a card in Sweden. Why did you just not sign Carl Abrixson? But let's just move on. Brian Moore versus Arivaldo Silva. This is such a weird fight because Arivaldo Silva is on a really nice win streak right now against good competition as well. He beat Ragnar Lima, who's 14-5, 17-10 Diego Santos, 6-5 guy, which is a bit of an iffy win, but 20-7 and 1-1. That's another iffy win, but like, this guy's on a good win streak right now, and he's a pretty massive underdog against Brian Moore for probably good reason. Like, Brian Moore really should win this fight. But I mean, there's not really much tape out on Arivaldo either, by the way. But yeah, Brian Moore, I think he will win. But why is he almost minus 400? I don't know. It's a little bit of a sketchy one. I'm gonna go with Brian Moore though. But yeah, Silva might be able to pull off some sort of crazy upset. He's really experienced, and he is on a weirdly good win streak right now. But Brett Johns, former UFC fighter, taking on Jordan Winsky. Jordan Winsky lost to Brian Moore, who was obviously fighting earlier on in the night. He beat a guy that was 12-8 at the time, but yeah, I feel like I recognize Jordan Winsky for something else, but that's not the point. Brett Johns really should win this one here. He made his debut against Danny Sabatello, a guy that the Dana White's Contender Series team didn't want to sign, and now Danny Sabatello is doing a huge thing for Bellator right now. I think he's fighting Raphael Stantz later on. He beat this guy called Khurshid Kakarov by KO, by ground and pound, and I think he's going to get another finish on his way back here. I know John's not really a guy that gets finished. He is a big grappler, but I think he should be able to beat Winsky inside the distance. I'll go with the submission. Tapology's going with submission as well. Daryl Kelly versus Kyle Stevens. This is a pretty tough one because I know Daryl Kelly is a guy that UFC's really trying to build, but Kyle Stevens, 3-1 record at only 24 years old. He's a prospect himself as well, but you do kind of have to side with Daryl Kelly. He won by submission in the first round over Junior Morgan, who was 3-0 at the time, and he's just a prospect, man. He really is, and the Bellator's picked him up early on into his career, and I think Bellator potentially are gonna give this guy the AJ McKee treatment, and they just build him up over time, and I think that's exactly what we're gonna see here. I think Daryl Kelly should win this one on the ground as well. Or maybe not on the ground. I don't know. I'm a dumb sometimes, guys. But I think Daryl Kelly should win. I know he's the prospect that the Bellator is holding on to and looking out for. Giori Karian versus Kane Musa. I'm going with the underdog in this one here. Maybe a controversial one. Maybe you guys don't like it, but Georgie, he's really experienced. 31, 13-1. And both guys are older, Georgie is 37 years old, Kane Musa is 36 years old, so there's no real youth advantage out of the two. But I feel like Kane Musa, he's just been damaged a lot less in his career, you know what I mean? And I feel like he kind of fights in that way. He fights a little bit more wild, is how I describe his style, and I don't really mind it too much. I'm picking Musa as the underdog here. Georgie, if he won, I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever, but I'm going to go with Musa in this one. I'm going to be going with Kenny Mokhawana in this one, and I'm a little bit weary of the odds. We're talking about a guy that's 3-0. He doesn't have a perfect undefeated amateur record, but it's not bad to see that. This guy went 11-6 as an amateur, and you saw a lot of losses and you saw a lot of development in that period of time, which isn't bad to see. It's your amateur record. Some people don't put a lot of stock into it. I do sometimes, but sometimes I don't. But I think it's just good to see that he's had a lot of experience before he's become a professional. And I think he should be able to get past Alex Bonda. And this one here, he does have a loss to an undefeated fighter at the time. And he went to a decision with this guy that was 7-3. But Kenny's the guy they're trying to build. So I'll pick him to win in this matchup here. Now, Jordan Barton, I believe, should beat Raphael Aljuge. It's a little bit of a weird one, though, because we're talking about a 23-year-old prospect, 3-1 out of France as well. I mean, you don't see a lot of French fighters. I know it does say he's fighting out of Dublin, Ireland, but he's a French nationality. I guess he's out of SPG Island, actually, so you can probably completely ignore everything I just said. But the point is, like, we've got a very young prospect, 23 years old, and he's being fed to a guy that's 29 years old, a guy that's almost out of that prospect status age. I feel like a lot of the best prospects in the world are under the age of 31 years old. I mean, Asayel's 23. He's developing right now. You know, he's becoming a good fighter. He's developing his skill set, but I don't think he should be able to beat Barton. I'm going to pick Barton in this matchup here. Dante Shiro versus Luca Queally. This is actually a fight which I haven't really looked into much at all. It looks like Luca Queally is making his debut. Yeah, I'm not going to pretend like I know much about this fight. I'm not going to pretend. Maybe Queally could be a good underdog, though. Like, we are talking about Dante Shiro, who does have a little bit of a little bit more experience, especially in Bellator, but I don't know, split decision loss to Logan Storley. In hindsight, actually, that's a really good win. So, a really good loss, I mean. So, yeah, you know what, I'll go with Shiro just for that reason, but not going to pretend like I know who I'm talking about here. Who are the people picking? A lot of people are on Queally. Wow, alright, yeah, no, I'm just going to go against Apology for the sake of it. Sorry, guys, for wasting your time on that one. Kieran Clark versus Raphael Hudson. I'm going to be going with Kieran Clark all day in this matchup here. He really should be able to get past Hudson. Hudson hasn't won in 3 years. And then since then he has lost to like pretty good guys, but he hasn't won a fight in 3 years, and I feel like that's kind of important. Momentum is on Clark's side, youth is on Clark's side as well. I mean, this guy went 13-11 as an amateur, which isn't the greatest record at all, but that's very experienced. And even then, it's not like he's fighting guys that are terrible. You know, he has been in there with Magomedov in the World Championships as an amateur, 2017 World Championships as well. Like, he had a bad amateur record, he did, but you can't blame that. You know, that's a lot of experience, and he's really looking good as a pro right now. And I feel like this might be a step down in competition considering the guys that he's been recently defeating as a professional. So yeah, Clark really should be able to finish Raphael Hudson here. Speaking of finishes, Mads Burnell should be able to get past Pedro Cavalho. Mads Burnell, I believe he just headlined a fight night against Adam Borix, and now they're giving him Pedro Cavalho coming off a loss with not the prettiest record in the world. I mean, he's 1-3 in his last 4. Mads Burnell, a really good prospect. He should be able to get through this guy here and win the fight. I'll go with Mads Burnell. He's not a finisher, but I'm going to go with him by finish. I think he should get it done. Leia McCord versus Diana Silva. Bellator really trying to still build up Leia McCord. I don't know why. I've never been impressed by Leia McCord's skill set, like whatsoever. I did pick her to beat Sinead Cavalho, which was my downfall. But I'm gonna pick her to win again. I mean, I feel like they keep kind of giving her girls that she should win against because she's marketable, but I don't know, just stay away from this fight, man. Alright, Yoel Nero time. I'm picking Yoel Ramiro to defeat Melvin Manhoef. Minus 700 favourite. Yo, wow. My goodness. Okay, I did not expect that. Wow, but yeah, you've got to go with Yoel here. It's so sad, though. He broke Alex Polizzi's jaw in like multiple places and beat him up so badly when Polizzi stepped in on short notice in their last time that fight was booked. But I've got to go Ramiro. I'm going to go with my KO as well. I know Ramiro's got crazy grappling, but this guy hits like a tank on the feet as well. And it's not like he's going to be like undersized in this matchup either, because I know he spent a lot of his time at 185. But he's 6 foot. Melvin Manhoef is fighting. Don't have this at one. Yeah, this is at 205. Melvin Manhoef is 5'8". Yoel Ramiro is gonna be much bigger than Manhoef in there, in my opinion. Like, this is This is crazy. Yeah, this is insane. Yoel Nero should definitely win that one. And Benson Henderson, I'm picking him to beat Peter Queally. I do think he robbed Islam Mamedov, not gonna lie. I mean, it was a competitive bout, but I do think Islam Mamedov won that fight. I don't see how they gave it to Henderson, but it is what it is, I guess. Now they're giving him Peter Queally, who I don't know, man. Like, call me a hater, call me a hater all you want. I don't rate Peter Queally too highly, but I guess if he's gonna beat Benson Henderson, he's gonna beat Benson Henderson now in Dublin. You know, he's from Ireland. He represents SPG Ireland. He's a lot younger. He's 33 years old. Benson Henderson is almost 39, but I think Henderson should win this one, man. Like, Henderson's been around for so long. It's so crazy that he's still doing it, man. But yeah, I do have to pick Benson Henderson in the main event. So yeah, that's it for the card, man. Hopefully that didn't take too long. 10 minutes. That's pretty fast for a 13 fight card. Hopefully I didn't waste too many people's time. But yeah, I'm going to be picking up Benson Henderson in this one here. I know there was a couple of fights where I didn't really know what I was talking about. I'm sorry, but I did look into the card. I did it all yesterday. I didn't have much on yesterday. I researched the card and then I actually watched a couple of Rocky movies. So yeah, it was a good time. But yeah, Bellator 285. That's my pick. So hopefully I don't look like a complete fool, but I usually do pretty good on Bellator picks. Usually because a lot of the fights are pretty easy to predict because they do set up a lot of fights. Like, I do think Brunel versus Cavalho is like low-key a setup. I mean, you could even argue Ramiro versus Manhoof is a setup, but I don't really like those odds. Clark versus Hudson's a setup in my opinion, for sure. I mean, you could argue this is a setup, but it's still a tough matchup. Daryl versus Cole Stevens could be a setup, but it's still a tough matchup. Johns versus Winsky, I think that's a setup fight. Albrechtsen versus Carl Moore, not a setup fight, but Albrechtsen's just so good that he should win. So yeah, that's all my picks, man. Hopefully that was all good. Man, 12 minutes. I waste so much time in the outros. I'll see you later.